Welcome to the Clockwork Percussion Podcast. Today's guest is Ryan Smith.
How's it going?
Hey, great, man. How are you?
I'm good, dude.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming by.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to talking some drums.
Yeah. Well, before we start that, I mean, it was cool getting to know you as a piano instructor. I think I hit up Steve Majora a long time ago. I was like, yo, can you give me lessons? And he's like, no, my roommate Ryan can. And I just want to thank you because my understanding of music, my harmony and melody and like chord building and everything grew 100-fold
Awesome,
after
man.
working with you. So
That's really cool to hear, and that's really funny that Steve Majora is the guy that pawned me off to you. He's a little bit better than me.
oh, well, he's a super talented guy. Yeah, no, he was just like, I don't know if he was busy or not giving lessons or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
I'm grateful that we met.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Did we not know each other prior to that? Was that
I don't think so.
okay?
Yeah. I think we had like a phone call and then you cruised by and that was it.
Cool.
It's all history after that. So
Yeah, rad.
So the idea is just to get to know you better as a drummer. How did you get started?
Oh man. Technically, I had my first drum kit when I was a baby. Like my parents got one of those fun little Toys R Us kits that has everything attached to the bass drum. I probably went through like 5 of those by the time I was 10, but didn't really know what I was doing. I think there was probably a video of like Dave Weckl or somebody like giving an instructional thing on one of them, and just basically just playing Billie Jean and figuring out like, oh, this hand keeps time, this foot plays the bass drum, this hand hits a snare. So I kind of just figured out really basic stuff with that when I was young, but never had any instruction. And then I had a buddy in middle school who played, and I'd go over to his house and he had like this badass, like huge kit with a million toms and mess around on that. And then my neighbor across the street from me also played, and he's kind of the guy that got me into it. This guy, Paul Cobo, I'm pretty sure he's a Black Hawk helicopter pilot now,
Whoa.
which is pretty dope. I think he's in the Army Reserves, pretty sure. But yeah, Paul Cobo got me into it. He was kind of like the cool older guy in the neighborhood, and I'd hear him just beating the hell out of these drums every day, and somehow convinced my parents to pay them some money to give me some lessons one summer. And I was like right before, there was a summer before high school, and I kind of just ran with it. I think I took like maybe a month or 2 of lessons and then just kind of went self-taught after that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that kind of started me off with it. But I had like a musical background prior to that. My parents put me in like piano lessons when I was a kid, and I did like violin in whatever 4th or 5th grade. And my dad always played guitar. My grandpa on my mom's side played trombone in a bunch of like orchestras. So there was like music in my family, and I was exposed to it at a young age, and kind of had a knack for it, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I'm the same way, family musicians. And
Nice.
so there's always that. Like half the people say like, oh, pots and pans. And some people are like, there's no one in my family plays music, but I just was like hitting these pots and pans and,
I don't know if I ever did the pots and pans thing. I'll have to ask my parents that. I don't think I did.
Yeah, it's become a little bit of a cliche where I
Right.
like want to compile that information after a certain number of episodes and
Right.
see if I can get like a really good, like a reliable sample on how many people have just said that.
Versus how many people said it and actually did it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wish there.
Just the cliche
Right.
response.
So you started playing seriously right before high school. What was your first band?
My first band. Okay, so I had a band. I'm doing quotes with no video camera on me. And I don't remember what they were called, but it was just some buddies in middle school leading up to that. And then we got together that summer. And we just played like cover stuff.
Cool.
But then I had an original project in, I think it was my sophomore year that it actually started. But during that first summer before high school, there's some guy, this guy Eric, who was like, "Hey man, like I know the best guitarist in school. You got to meet him. And like you're a really good drummer. Like you guys should meet. Like whatever." And so he introduced us, and then we ended up being in the same class and we started jamming. and kind of clicked. And then we kind of built a band around that because he knew some other people at different schools. But that band was called Bootstrap, straight out of Pirates.
Really?
'Cause that was like the same time. I did
Nice.
not come up with that name, but yeah, that was called Bootstrap, and we kind of lucked out. We had some just massive players in it. So Justin Norman was the guitar player, phenomenal guitarist. Funny story. Now I'm just realizing this now, but he played for a band called The Confession, metal band.
Sounds
They went-
familiar.
Yeah, they toured with like Avenged Sevenfold and Megadeth for a little stint. But the drummer prior to their main guy was actually my buddy Dane, who I mentioned, who kind of got me into drums. And I'm just putting that together now that like that's like this weird funny thing. But I think it was before they actually got serious. It was just kind of like they were just jamming with them. But yeah, so Bootstrap was my first group, and then it was Justin on guitar, and then Phil Allen on bass. I'm sorry, also on guitar, and then we had a bass player named Josh. But Phil went on, did a whole bunch of producing. Justin went on, did a whole bunch of playing for other people. I've obviously gone on and made this a career, but like 3 out of the 4 of us have kind of made music our career.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to our high school band, which is kind of cool to look back on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Oh man, whole bunch of music. Still teaching piano, guitar, drums, theory, Pro Tools, and then lots of playing. But my main band, as you know, is Sega Genocide, 90s cover band. Best 90s cover band on the planet.
I totally wager. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are so much fun.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a fun show. I can't really take too much credit for it. I'm kind of the guy that came along after they already built this whole thing up and made a name for themselves.
But you got the job, so that says a lot.
Yeah, I did. Sometimes I feel like I was just the guy who was there when their other guy got mono, but
Oh, shit.
but they kept me after those 2 weeks, and it's been a crazy fun 3 years since then. I love these guys; they're brothers, and they're keeping me busy, man. They're keeping all of us busy. Playing every Friday at Wayfair in Costa Mesa. A whole lot of private parties and weddings, and we play Stillwater and Dana Point every now and then. Just got a residency, I think. I don't know if I can call it a residency. I think it's like twice a month at Brewery X.
Okay.
And then, but our main show is Wayfair. We do 90s night there every Friday.
I mean, does it sell out every weekend?
I mean, if it doesn't, it feels like it does.
Yeah.
It's always packed. We've had a few nights where we'll walk out there and it's a little thin, and then like 2 songs in, it's just slammed.
Right. It's like a cultural event locally, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cool little local, like if you're in Costa Mesa, you know about it.
Yeah.
Like even before I joined them, I didn't even really know any of the guys. I knew them kind of through other people, or knew of them through other people. But I'd go into Wayfair and just like check them out for a little bit and just be like, how the hell is this like cover band pulling all these people? Because like I played in cover bands for ages and ages. I probably worked for like 200 something artists over the years, and
Wow.
I'm guessing like probably 50 to 60 of those have just been pure cover things.
Okay.
And like none of them are like this. None of them are selling out places like this on a weekly basis and like bringing the kind of energy that this band does. So it's a blast, man. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you certainly put your time in, so it's kind of like the payoff now.
Yeah.
You get the the golden gig.
Right.
So let's talk about how you got to this point. I know that you went to MI Musicians Institute in
I
Los
did.
Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And what years?
Oh man, that was 2006.
Okay.
That's when I started, and then so they have like bachelor programs and associate programs. They probably have other stuff now too. I'm not sure, but when I was there, it was like I don't know if I was the first year of the bachelor program, but I was definitely in the first few. So I did that, and I was there for 3 years. So I walked in 09, but I technically didn't get my degree until 10 because I was a complete idiot and waited to do all my gen ed stuff until the very end.
Okay.
So yeah, I walked and finished all the music stuff, and started doing a bunch of session work and gigs for people. And then meanwhile, I'm going to Saddleback College and doing freaking like algebra courses.
Really? You had to do all
Yep.
that? Oh, that sucks.
I mean, I didn't have to. I mean, if I wanted to get the piece of paper, I had to, but
Right.
the piece of paper kind of just sits around. Nobody really cares.
You were already
But-
working before you even got it.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, if I
incredible.
wanted to get like a teaching job at like a college as a professor, I'd need it.
Right.
But short of that, like nobody cares. It's just can this guy play? Can this guy hang? Can this guy write, record, whatever it might be that I'm being hired for? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the bottom dollar. But
So what was your focus there for your degree?
percussion. So technically, the degree was a Bachelor of Music and Performance with an emphasis on percussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the process like to become a student there?
Probably pretty similar to a lot of other like music programs. I think I had to do like a written test. That was pretty short, like a theory type thing, and then they had specific things they wanted me to play, so I like filmed myself playing 3 or 4 pieces. I don't remember what I did for that, to be honest with you. I remember filming it. I just don't remember what I played. But it was probably something like play a jazz piece, play a rock piece, play a funk piece, whatever.
I see.
But yeah, it was. I don't want to say it was easy, but it wasn't like crazy.
Right.
There were a few things where I had to ask some people like what they meant, like wording wise, as far as the theory stuff went. But other than that, it wasn't too nuts.
So they just want to gauge like whether you're serious, and of course they need people to go to attend the school. So I
It's
mean,
a
they're-
private school, so yeah, they need to get people in. I think more than anything, it was just like, where's this person at?
Mhm.
Because they did have like levels that they would put you in once you got there. There were like 12 levels of theory and ear training and arranging and all these different courses. So
Okay. So after all of that, 2009, you walk out the door for the last time and you start connecting with artists. What are some of the artists you're most proud of working with?
at that point in time,
Yeah. I mean, were you taking anything you could get? Like what?
I was taking everything I could get.
Okay.
So it's funny. When I first got there, I had a few different private instructors while I was there, but one of them who like I need to hit this guy up. I haven't talked to him in so long, but this guy Donnie Grunler, awesome dude, great drummer, great teacher. I remember walking in my first lesson. He was like, "Okay, so what are your goals? Like, what do you want to get out of these lessons more than anything?" And like, I definitely went there way too young. I was way too immature and just naive and green, had no clue how the industry worked, had no clue how being an actual gigging musician worked. And so naturally I was just like, oh, like, show me some fills. Like, teach me how to play cool fills. And I could see like just the light leave his eyes. We're just like, oh, great, another one of these kids. But no, he was very big on just instilling musicality into you and making sure that you played exactly what the song needed. And I remember asking him like, hey, so how do you get gigs? Like once I get out of here, what's the process? How do I get from point A to point B? And he's like, just play for as many people as you can. If you're good, people will notice you and they'll notice your energy. And if it matches with theirs, they'll hire you. And that didn't make sense to me at the time. I wanted more of like I'm a very like methodical person. Like I want to know like do this, do this, do this, do this, and that's how you get to here. And that's just not how it works. It really isn't. Like it's literally what he said. Like if you play enough and you get recognized by people enough, and people like what you're doing, they're gonna want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just playing for every like 99% of what I was doing were cover bands. Just playing for every cover band you could. And I mean, up in LA, I don't know what it's like now. I haven't lived there in a while, but it was like you're lucky if you're getting $50 for a gig.
Wow.
Lucky if you're getting $50 for a gig. And I mean, I was a kid, so it was like, sure, I'll take it, whatever. But now that wouldn't even get me to my car, let alone at my door. But no, it was literally just that. It was grinding and doing as many gigs as possible. I started teaching seriously then too, so I kind of got the ball rolling with that. But I was bouncing around a lot. I was living in LA still after that, but I was working down here in like Orange County, probably half. It was probably half and half. So I was driving down a bunch, driving back, driving all over the place. Lots of gigs, lots of session work, lots of students. And then I had I haven't spoken to them in a while, but I had a really close friend who had a cousin or nephew or some distant relation of a girl who was in an all-girl team band who needed a music director. And they were down in Orange County. Their old music director, I think, died from like leukemia or something crazy. So they needed somebody to come in for that. And so I'd drive down a couple days a week, run the rehearsals for them, make sure they had all their parts down. And then that led to me teaching each of them individually piano, bass, guitar, drum lessons.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And then they all lived in the same neighborhood. So it would be like, oh, you live on this cul-de-sac. There's another kid right next door who also wants to learn how to play. And I literally, this would have been probably in 2012, 11 or 12 maybe, when this kind of started really snowballing. But I'd have like an entire cul-de-sac where I'd just be like, you have a piano lesson, you have another piano lesson, you have a drum lesson, you have a bass lesson. Hey, you guys are all the same age. Let's make a band.
Wow.
So then I'd be doing rehearsals on the weekend with these kids. But I literally had like, this neighborhood was these kids, this neighborhood was these kids, form bands with them, bring them into the studios, charge the parents for studio time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was kind of building everything up at that point, and basically doing the whole music school thing where you're teaching multiple instruments, forming bands with the kids, having them play shows, taking them into the studio to record with them and show them how that process all works. But I was doing it all myself.
The School of Ryan Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, it was intense. It was a lot. I had like 27 students, I think was the most that I had at one point.
Wow.
And I was really, really busy with that, and studio work and gigging.
What's that, like 60, 70-hour weeks?
No, I mean, you'd think it would be, but it was a lot of like I say I was gigging for all these people, but it would be like I'm gigging for this guy like once a month, this guy twice a month. So I was playing for like 11 or 12 different people at once, but it wasn't like I was playing weekly shows with these guys.
Okay.
It was more just like I'm a gun for hire and taking whatever's popping up.
What what calendar app were you using?
Dude, I still use just the iCal.
Okay.
I've done that. I do that for everything. My girlfriend kind of laughs about it a little bit too, because I'll just make notes on it. Like, hey, I need to get bacon. That goes on the calendar. And then it's like bacon, and then this lesson, this lesson, this lesson, this gig. Don't forget to get toilet paper. Like, I use it for everything, man. It's great.
Okay.
But
Nice.
yeah, no, it's just like if you look at my calendar, it's just
Right.
all the way down, just everything's filled up.
Okay. And I was just checking out your website before you arrived.
My website?
Yeah.
It's still up?
I mean, so here's the weird thing. Like, I couldn't access it after I clicked it.
Right?
But Google stores all of that information.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
After we do this, I need you to show me how to do that.
I just searched for it I use like DuckDuckGo.
Okay.
I searched for Ryan Smith
'Cause
drummer.
my
Because I remember
buddy-
your old site.
Yeah. That's really funny. So my buddy who's run that for ages, this guy John Hastings, I went to MI with him. That's where I met him. I don't know if he still goes by Paper Submarine, but that was his like web design company. But he made that for me back in 2010, 11, 12, somewhere, same time period.
Okay.
And he just hit me up like a couple months ago and was like, hey, your site's going to get shut down in a month. I can hand over like all the data for it if you want to go and do something else. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then like I got super busy and totally forgot to do anything about it on the first. So like now my site's gone. But I mean, nobody really goes on it, to be honest with you. Like I don't know how much work I've gotten from it. It's mostly just word of mouth. And
For sure.
it's just like if somebody wants to go on and click on my like videos or media or about tab and be like, oh, sure, you played with these people. Cool.
Yeah.
It was kind of more for that than anything else. But
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is you record with James Blunt.
I did, yeah.
How did that opportunity come about?
So Phil Allen, who was in Bootstrap with me in high school, ended up basically running the writing studio for Epic Records right out of college. So like they had this tiny little hole in the wall spot called, damn, I can't remember the name of it. Tiny spot on like Santa Monica Boulevard. They didn't want to pay a ton of money to get some like big name guy to come in. So they're like, oh, we'll just get this kid right out of college, and then if like the whole thing fails, we'll just whatever. It's not a big deal. We'll just get rid of it and move on. But they gave him the keys to this place, and every big Epic artist was going in there, booking out time slots to record, and he was just running the whole thing basically. So like he ended up working with all these people: Adele, Aerosmith, Pink,
Awesome.
and James Blunt was one of them. So he hit me up to come in and track on some of his stuff. And it was really more of just like a writing session. We had trying to remember the guy's name. It was the producer was the singer of Better Than Ezra, I think.
Okay.
Maybe I made that up. I'm pretty sure that's who it was.
That's
It was
a
like
band name.
I've always remembered it as Peter Griffin, but I know that's Family Guy. That's the wrong name. So it's like Kevin Griffin, I want to say, was producing on it. But yeah, it was kind of just a super chill, intimate setting. It was like me, James, Phil, and Kevin, if that's the correct name. But yeah, tracked a few things with him. I've done a ton of recording with Phil over the years. We go back to high school. And there was a stretch where we had like a little mini kind of side project studio band called the Hitstorm. And it was more of like a studio band vibe, where it's like if you have a solo artist who doesn't have a band,
Right.
like, hey, hire us.
Yeah.
You got a drummer, guitarist, bass player. Worked with Steve a lot. That's actually how I met Steve Majora.
Okay.
Was through that, because Steve worked with Phil up at Epic. And so like whenever we needed keys, we'd hit Steve up and have him come in and track on stuff. But
That's so funny because you mentioned studio band, and my first thought went to Toto
oh yeah,
because they worked for like Linda Ronstadt or something. Isn't that
so
how they got started?
Toto was kind of like a lot. We were just talking about this earlier today with the Sega guys. So Toto is kind of a unknown studio band, and they played on a ton of stuff. All of Thriller, that was all them. Did a bunch of Michael Jackson stuff. You could Google them, and it's like just a crazy list of people they've worked with. But Steve Lukather especially he's like one of the more prominent session guitarists, probably of the last like 40 years or something. He's just one of those guys whose name's on everything. But yeah, Steve's playing with them now, and we go back to recording at Hybrid Studios with Hitstorm.
That's dope.
Yeah, man.
Any other notable acts that you worked with?
I've worked with a ton of people over the years, but through that same project, we worked with Michael Grimm. He was an America's Got Talent winner in like 2009, 2010. I worked with Steve a bunch. We're in the process of writing something now. We do a lot of writing every now and then too. And then Sega. Through Sega, we've worked with a bunch of people. Like we've worked with like Joey Fatone a few times.
Okay.
A few of the guys from NSYNC actually we've worked with a few times. And then Ryan Cabrera we work with a lot. But a lot of the like bigger names that I've worked with, it's been like little one-off things, like the James Blunt session.
Sure.
Even with Sega, it's like we'll play a show with some huge guy and like we'll be backing him for a little bit. And then like that's it.
Right.
So like a lot of the session stuff I do has been like that as well. It's just like quick session, never see the guy again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the bigger ones have been James Blunt, Michael Grimm, Kai Kalama from American Idol. I work with a ton.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm blanking. I need my website in front of me to help me with this. I can't remember. So many people over the years.
Well, that's just an awesome way to make a living. You know.
It's fun, man. It's great. And it takes a ton of work. It took a ton of work to get the ball rolling. But it really does go back to what Donnie told me at MI, where it's just like you just have to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like methodical process other than that. It's just like if you're really good at what you do, people are going to recognize that. They're going to recognize the passion, recognize the hard work that you put in. And if they like what you're doing, they're going to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't hire you, they're going to tell somebody else about it, and then they're going to hire you.
Right. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's all word of mouth. For me, at least, that's how the process has worked. I know other people will like talk about promoting themselves. I've never really done that. Like, I'm barely on social media. My website, I didn't even know it was still that you could still get any of it. Like, I've never really put my eggs into that basket. It's all just been being a people person,
Mm-hmm.
being likable, being professional is like huge.
Yeah, and then
Huge.
not putting all those fills you wanted to learn over everyone's songs.
Yeah. I mean, every drummer loves like showing off. Every drummer loves playing solos and having some flashy moments. But I'm trying to think who I know said this. I think it was Sean Horton. He's a phenomenal drummer. I think he played for like Natasha Bedingfield back in the day. But this guy's got chops galore.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got pocket, like insane pocket. And I think I remember seeing him post, I'm pretty sure it was him. I think he posted this like 10 years ago or something, and it kind of just stuck with me, where he's like, Instagram drummers get likes, professional drummers get gigs.
Right.
Or something along those lines, right? And there's a reason why guys like Steve Jordan or like, Vinny's probably not the best option because he can shred too, and he likes to do that. But like, Vinny's played on 1 million records.
Steve Gadd.
Aaron Sterling is one of my dudes now, for sure. But just guys who just play what the song needs and make it feel better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's so much more valuable, and I feel like most producers, most songwriters would say the same, than some guy who can play a gajillion notes a second with one hand.
Yeah.
Right? And that's flashy. It's really cool. I can't do it. I don't know if I'd want to do it, but I can't do it. It's cool.
Right.
Right? I'll give him credit. I'll give credit where credit's due, but like, it's way more important to me to play what the song needs. Like, if I get hired for something and that's what needs to happen on it, like the whole gig is like, play a gajillion notes a second with one hand, then I'll work my ass off and try and figure out how to do that. But like, that's not how it works usually. Right? Even on like songs that are intense, like we play the first month or the first week of every month, we've been doing emo night with Sega, which I never got into that stuff. When it was happening, I was listening to like Zeppelin. We're in a Zeppelin shirt right now.
Right.
But I was listening to classic rock when like all that stuff kind of hit. So it's not really fresh for me. But that stuff's intense, man. Like playing an entire show of like My Chem,
Mm-hmm.
or of like even like playing like punk stuff, like Green Day type stuff. Playing that back to back to back for 2 hours, like,
Yeah.
it'll get you. You got to be in shape for it.
Yeah.
And none of that stuff's like crazy drum wise. Like, I'm not having to play like 15/8 with my left foot while playing like some clave with my right hand or like anything like that. But it's just demanding physically.
Yeah. Well, Trey's like super syncopated, and it's all eighth note feel. Like on the hi-hat, it's super high tempo. So
Yeah.
it's like your right hand's like fuck at the
Yeah.
end of every song.
Exactly. Or like Blink stuff. Like, we threw some Blink stuff in our quote unquote emo set last night. And that's the same vibe. It's just like
Yeah.
you're just playing hi-hat
Right.
fast.
Yeah. He's a
nonstop.
madman.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite drummer?
Oh, man. I don't think I have an overall guy. I think if you were to ask me, like, who's your favorite rock drummer, who's your favorite pop drummer, I'd probably be able to, like, narrow that down. But if I had to, I'd probably say Bonham. I know it's, like, such an overused thing, but, like, that guy came out at 19 years old or whatever age he was when Zeppelin 1 hit, and he's, like, right off the bat, like, full, mature player.
I mean, Good Times, Bad Times.
Yeah,
is like the
triplets
first song.
on the foot, like right off the bat. It's
Right.
like nobody was doing that. Nobody was doing that prior to him. And with that much feel and that much power, like,
26-inch kick drums.
yeah, and just like super unique like sizes and sounds that he got. He was so far ahead of everybody else, in my opinion, at that time. And even till like to this day, I can't think of a rock drummer who's doing that,
Yeah.
who has done that. Like you could listen to his ISO tracks and listen to
That's
like
what I was just gonna say. Is
the Fool in the
isolation
Rain
track.
ISO tracks,
Dude,
or
yeah,
the,
like the fucking Samba shit he's doing. in the
dude,
middle
it's
of that
just
song.
so good.
Yeah.
And like going back to Steve Jordan, like obviously Instagram's huge now. Obviously, there's a ton of great drummers out there who can play just crazy linear phrases that are super smooth and buttery and fast, and that's great. But like, I don't feel that in my soul.
Mm.
I'm wowed by it. Like it's a cool little like spark moment where I'm like, oh, that was sick,
Yeah.
right? But it's not like when I see something like that and I listen to it, I can't get through more than like 30 seconds before I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Right? Because
Well-
like you're around drums for this amount of time. I don't want to say you've heard it all or done it all or seen it all, but you kind of have. Like you get to a certain point where it's like, even if you can't play it yourself, it's like, oh, he's doing that phrase that I heard this guy do, or oh, he's doing that I've heard these 50 guys do.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, you break everything down and it's like singles, doubles, flams,
Totally.
and then a bajillion combinations of those three things.
That's yeah,
Unisons, right? That's all of drumming.
That Thomas Lang Drumeo video. Have you seen that?
Maybe.
I bring it up all the time, but he just like 7 or 8 years ago did his first Drumeo bit, and it's all singles, doubles, trip. Like he goes through every rudiment from 1 to fucking 9 and beyond, and he's like everything can be distilled down to one of these.
It literally is. Every song that's ever been played on a drum set is singles, doubles, flams,
Right.
and then combinations of that stuff and unisons. But I forget where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Favorite drummers? Yeah, I cut you off.
We're talking about Bonham. We're talking about. Oh, okay. So
Show off.
yeah,
Show off.
showing off.
guys,
So
yeah.
for me, and how that doesn't really do anything for me. So
Mhm.
for me, putting on that ISO track of "Fool in the Rain," or putting on an ISO track of Steve Jordan just playing, like that will get my head moving and make me feel it in my gut more than any crazy drum solo ever will.
Mm.
And there's a reason why, like, if you have a really good drummer, if you go to a show and there's just a solid drummer with just crazy pocket and he's just playing some simple beat, there's a reason why everybody in the audience moves to that. And there's a reason why when you get a drummer at a concert playing some crazy drum solo, half the people leave to get a beer.
100%.
Like, I mean, not to knock our instrument, but like, I don't know. That's just me personally. I'm all about feel. I love watching Aaron Sterling on Instagram. I love a lot of the albums that he's played on. His feel's insane. Big Steve Jordan fan, big Bonham fan. But I mean, I go the other way too. Like I like Buddy Rich, dude. That guy's chops were, again, still to this day, I don't know of too many guys who can match him technically.
Right.
Like just insane hands.
Yeah.
Chris Daddy Dave, great player. Did a lot of Adele stuff. Yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've been doing so much studio stuff over the years where like I appreciate like how much goes into playing consistently over and over again and just the feel of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm way more into that than I am into Chop City.
Sure.
But chops are fun, man. I say it's funny because I say that, and then if you go and see me play a Sega show, I'm just playing way too many notes every single song. But it's like an intentional thing. It's like that's kind of the gig.
Yeah, you're putting on a show. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to that. I mean, I'm a metal grindcore drummer, so there's a lot of notes.
Yeah, man.
And I try to make it fit with like the parts, but it's a fine line between backing off, and it's hard to make the argument that you're supporting the song for those types of songs, but like
I don't know.
that's what we feel like we're doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it needs, though.
The music calls for that. Like
Yeah.
the guitar, like both Mike and I are ahead of the beat, the guitar player,
Mhm.
you know, so we're like really like bouncy, jumpy metal musicians. And so he's like, can you just put more stuff here? You know,
Yeah.
that's what like the beginning of our musical relationship was like.
Nice.
Coming from guys like drummer, the Dillinger Escape Plan and the Locust, where like it's dense, you
Yeah.
know, and they're quick songs. But when I play with other people, if I'm playing like with an instrumental band, like I want to hear the other guys come out, and we all know guitar players love to fucking, you know, noodle. So I just like let them do it when they do it and just fucking play. But what kind of sticks do you use?
I've used Vader Fusions for probably since I got out of MI. I don't remember exactly when I started playing them, but I play them for everything.
What diameter are those sticks?
Dude, I don't even know.
Are
I'm so bad with this stuff. I'm like, hey, does it work? Does it sound good? Cool, I'll use it.
Yeah.
But
Are they smaller?
they're a
thicker?
little shorter than like your 5A, I guess. Maybe a tad bit thicker.
Okay.
But they have a ball tip, which I love.
Oh.
I just love how bouncy it is and responsive it is, especially on rides. God, I gotta stop hitting your mic. It's like I've never been in a studio before. But yeah, I love that they're not too heavy to use for quiet stuff. Like I just played a gig with the Kalama Brothers, or 2 in a row actually. We did like 2 weeks in a row at Club 33 in Disneyland,
Cool.
where it was just like jazz. We're just playing like straight ahead jazz
Wow.
with but we were doing like random pop covers that we turned into jazz songs or into like Hawaiian vibe songs.
Cool.
But yeah, I was just playing like straight ahead, just spang a lang, you know, on like a jazz kit that they had there with them. Works great. And then last night I used them at Emo Night for Sega, where I'm just beating the living hell out of my drums for 2 hours.
So they're versatile.
They're super versatile. They break like any other stick, but like I just love the feel of them. They're great.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
What kind of kit are you playing on?
DW.
It's the green sparkle one.
It's the green sparkle one, man.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yep. It's honestly, like, it sounds phenomenal. I was just telling the guys about this. So it has a 15 floor tom,
Interesting.
which is, it's rare, but it's not as rare as you'd think. Like, you do see them. They're just like not, you're not going to get heads for them very
I was
easily.
gonna say, are the heads just
So-
back ordered to fucking
Dude, so
the past, dude?
I don't want to like knock things while we're doing this, but like I hate Guitar Center. I really fucking hate Guitar Center.
I feel the same
so
way about
much.
Sam Ash. So if anyone's
mean-
listening from these corporations, you have
Yeah,
work
if
to do.
anyone's listening, get your shit together. Dude, I just like I've put so much money into that company over the years, and I literally, without fail, every single time I go in there, I get wronged somehow. Like literally every time something crazy happens. So, anyways, I have bought these 15-inch heads for over 10 years, however long I've had this kit, and no issues. And then obviously COVID hits, and then like everything starts getting back ordered. But then like I thought we were through all that because everything else I'm able to get fine. But like I ordered 3 of these heads in June, and like still nothing.
Wow.
So like I called them, and that was what, like 4 months ago,
Yeah.
right? So I called them last week. I went on vacation, or 2 weeks ago. I went on vacation last week. So 2 weeks ago, I called them up and I was like, "Hey, like, what's the deal with this order?" I ordered it back in June, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to get those till January." I'm like, "Okay, great."
Wow.
So I hung up the phone, called Sweetwater, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll ship them to you next week." So like I got back from my trip, and I had like 2 boxes of heads just sitting, waiting for me on my kitchen table. But like, yeah, man, I can't stand it. But that kit, that floor tom, is something special. They do something, I forget the word that they coined for it, but it's basically, it might just be called vertical grain. They basically take the grain of the wood and they have it go this way. Oh, jeez, come on, man. They have it go this way, vertically instead of horizontally, and it supposedly lowers the pitch of the drum by like a whole step.
Oh.
So like I have this 15 floor tom that's just thunderous. Like
Wow.
I love it. It
Ooh.
sounds so good. And then the kick sounds amazing, but the real selling point for me, the reason that it's been my workhorse for 10 years, is it has the main miking system in it,
Right.
in the kick drum. So like, and it's funny because like that's an old, like this kit's 10 years old, and that system had probably already been out for like 4 or 5 years. But I still, to this day, I'll go on gigs and the engineers will be like, "Oh, that's insane! What's that? I've never seen that before." And it's just so incredibly easy for them. They don't have to bring out like a stand. They don't have to bring out their own mic, and like they literally just plug an XLR straight into the side of my shell, and it's good to go. And I have a Beta 52 in it.
Okay.
That sounds just meaty and luscious and huge, and it's great. I love it.
That's dope.
Yeah, I've used it in the studio on a ton of records. Used it for pop gigs, funk gigs, rock gigs,
Yeah.
tons of stuff.
So it's a 4-piece kit?
It's a 4-piece kit. Yeah. Yeah, there's a 10-inch tom that I never use. I love it. It sounds really cool. It's just like there aren't really a whole ton of applications for it these days.
Sure.
But no, it's just a 12 and 15, and then I have a bunch of snares that I'll go through. But
Okay. What's your dream kit?
dude, this is kind of it. To be honest with you, like
Sick.
I love big sounding drums. I mean, it would be cool to have a Bonham kit, but like you're not really using that for anything other than Led Zeppelin covers.
Yeah.
But I love big open sounding drums. I've never really. I mean, it depends on going back to what we were talking about before. It really just depends on what the song needs.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a folky pop thing that needs super thuddy muted drums, I'll mute my drums. But I generally tune my toms just wide open, just big, bit of a pitch bend. I can't stand paying $1,000 for a tom and then having it go.
Yeah.
It's like just buy a piece of crap drum set and do that.
Pitch bend, you mean you tune your resonant heads higher a little bit?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all. That's a funny thing too, is talking tuning.
Yeah.
'Cause I did that for a while, like not full time because I've always had a million jobs going at once. But like, I just worked as a drum tech for ages, probably like 5 or 6 years. That was like one of my main sources of income.
Okay.
So like, and I kind of just jumped into the frying pan with that because like I knew how to tune, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I feel like most people who do that probably jump in the firing pan. There isn't like a specific way to learn how to do that other than just messing around. But
Fuck, man. I only know how to tune my kit marginally. You know, it's like I feel like it's a lifelong art science.
it is. It's like this weird voodoo thing. But yeah, there's just like you'll read how to tune a drum properly, and it's like great. You tune all the lugs to the same pitch, and then you tune all the lugs to the same pitch on the resonant head, and then like you get the balance between the two that you want, right?
Right.
But that works like 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And then you get like one drum where it's like it just doesn't want to tune, and you just do everything completely ass backwards, and it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, why did that work?
You get shitty heads,
Mhm.
or you know, the drum warps after sitting in a warm room for a summer,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuning's everyone has a different philosophy on it, is what I've learned.
Right.
There are some common themes, and it for rock drums it tends to be make each head sound equal on a drum, and then bring the resonant head up a little bit
Right.
to get that pitch bend. And then jazz, it's opposite, I believe. But-
Jazz, I mean, it depends on the drums, dude. But like generally, yeah. Either the opposite, where you put the batter head higher, or just you tune them the exact same pitch.
Mm,
Usually, the exact same pitch will give you like the most open, ringy tone, which usually is what you want for jazz. But
mm,
yeah, dude, it just depends. But I generally, what I've found is whatever the resonant frequency of the shell is. Like if you, and DW does this, they've always kind of made this their thing where they put like a note on the inside of the shell. And again, it doesn't work 100% of the time. I have like a couple of my DW drums, like I don't tune to that pitch because I don't think it's actually what works the best. But that's just my personal preference. But in general, I found that whatever the like fundamental note of the drum is, if you tune the resonant head close to that, that's when you're going to get like the most out of the drum. So I'll kind of start there and then just kind of finagle my way until it like gets to where I want it.
mm-hmm.
Because like obviously if it starts like bottoming out and you start getting like, you just got to bring it up.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, dude, this kit that I have tunes up super easy. I love tuning everything really open and big. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Sick. Ryan, what does drumming mean to you?
Ooh. It's been such a huge part of my life that it sounds so cheesy to say, but I really feel that drumming is who I am and not something that I do. And I don't even really think about that much anymore because I just do it 24/7. But it really is. It's a huge part of just my personality and and what I feel like I'm on this planet for. But aside from that, like the role of drumming to me is all about just making people dance. Like if I look out in a crowd and I see the crowd moving and I see people having a good time and dancing and feeling the music, then I'm doing my job. Like to me, it's really that simple.
I love that. Do you know Mike Wilson?
Yeah, love Mike.
He came on the podcast and he said something I never heard before, but the band Franz Ferdinand said their job is to make people dance.
Yeah.
And I love that. My dad's a musician, and all the fucking punk and metal that I terrorized the household with my adolescent years. And he's like, you're not going to make any money unless you just like get girls dancing.
He's got a point.
Yeah. But alas, still a metal drummer. What tips do you have for the listeners?
Tips for playing?
Yeah, just anything that you could impart that might help anyone at any level.
Honestly, just do whatever the gig needs. Like that's coming from me as like a gun for hire. Like that's kind of the name of the game is play what the gig needs, play what the song needs, do your homework. I was just talking about this today. I had a moment like early in my career where like kind of made an ass out of myself. Didn't do my homework, didn't have the songs down, got called out on it, and kind of had a like naive, immature moment of like arguing with the guy.
Oh.
And got fired.
Shit.
Where it's like, that was kind of like a wake up call for me where it's like, okay, like this is how this business works. Like they're going to get the guy who shows up prepared. And honestly, like that's such a huge part of this. Obviously you want to be able to play, you want to have your chops down, you want to have your pocket down, you want to be a good hang. But just professionalism, just showing up on time, being prepared, having the gig under your thumb where you're ready to go. And helping out is actually a big thing, I feel like, too. Just like helping coil cables, helping pack up.
That's interesting to hear a drummer say that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Sometimes I'll finish a gig and I'm like, I'm beat. I don't want to do anything right now. I just haul my kit to my car. But like 90% of the time I'll just do that without being asked just because I know that it's like a pain in the ass. Like nobody wants to do that kind of stuff after a gig. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like all those little things just add up over time. And for me personally, and this goes with teaching too, because it's all like word of mouth for me. That's how I get all my business, is just doing all the little things that are gonna make people like you more and want you back on the gig.
Yeah.
And just play what the song needs. Number one, that's it.
I love it.
That's it for me.
How can listeners get a hold of you?
Instagram, Ryan Smith Drums. It'd be really easy, even though I never use it. I look at it, I just don't post anything on it.
Okay.
But I would have said my website, but we know that that's not a thing. Yeah, Instagram, Ryan Smith Drums. It's probably the best.
Terrific. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, man. I think I'm good. I want to hear you play. When are you playing next?
We just finished our record. Our bass player quit.
Oh, man.
And then we got offered a gig at Alex's bar. So we're
Where's
playing
that at?
Up in Long Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, 7th and Anaheim, I think. They filmed like the True Blood bar scenes there.
Sick.
It's kind of like the Wayfarer of Long Beach.
Of Long Beach. Okay.
So we're playing as a two-piece again. And I'm going to use the house kit, and I'm stripped down to this setup.
Cool.
Because fuck it.
Dude, We're playing at Stillwater Dana Point tonight, and they have a house kit, and it's my favorite thing on the planet.
Really?
Dude, anytime I don't have to haul a whole kit, it's like,
Yeah,
win.
that's a good point. Yeah, I'm just always worried about stuff. I like having everything because then I can, if I fuck that up, it's my fault.
Yeah.
But it's also fun to have a little challenge. So playing with less, and we'll see how that
Keep
goes.
you on your toes.
Yeah.
I love playing different setups than what I'm used to. It just makes you think differently about the instrument. But yeah, we've been lucky. Like the few times that we've done either travel dates or played like bigger venues, like we played House of Blues recently, and they have a DW backline that's pretty killer. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, you kind of never know what you're getting into, and like if you're in a situation like that, like hopefully they're on their game and everything's taken care of. But like
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's had some backline woes where you show up and it's just like, hey, this kick drum pedal doesn't work,
Yeah.
or like, hey,
Exactly.
this throne doesn't rise higher than 2 feet.
Dude, I won't say what venue it was because I liked playing there, but a recent gig that we did had a backline kit. They were insistent we used it, and I used it, and fucking tom leg, bro.
Oh,
The
dude.
floor tom leg. And so, like, there's tape on it and all this shit, but, like, whoever put the tape on just did not think it through. Like, their critical thinking skills were, like, why all the stupid drummer jokes exist.
Right.
And I was pissed because I, like, had to set up and play. So I'm sitting there fucking, like, knifing off this tape and then retaping it. And, people have, for some reason, like to put their floor toms on the goddamn floor. So I'm, like, hitting my thigh. I'm raising it up and all this shit. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I didn't have a tape issue, but I've definitely had a floor tom where the leg closest to me just wasn't screwed down all the way, and like the tech did it. So like when I set my own stuff up, I'm pretty thorough. Like I have it. Everybody has it down to a process, right? Where
Yeah.
you know your gear and you make sure it's all good before you start. But like whoever it was that like set this tom up just didn't tighten it all the way, and I didn't realize this till like halfway through the first set when it was like just hitting my leg. It was like just like falling on me, and I'm like sitting there trying to play the kick drum while simultaneously trying to press my knee over to keep the tom
Oh, God.
upright, and then like playing fills through it with my knee like over on the side. But dude, I mean, at the end of the day though, like whatever, it like makes you think about things differently.
Yeah.
I probably approached all my fills differently because of that and started using the rack tom more, and like
It's
maybe something cool came out of it. I don't
little
know.
exercise, yeah.
Yeah. But dude, this was fun.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming. You're welcome back anytime.
Hell yeah, love it.
Sweet. Thanks, Ryan.
Cool, man.